We started taking older kids shortly after school closed down. That had always been on the radar when we moved into the new building. We anticipated that coming with time. We did not anticipate the pandemic. But once the schools closed down, there was understandably concern about the potential rise in abuse and neglect in the community. Teachers are a huge advocate for children, and really for a lot of kiddos, they're the eyes that see some of the signs and make a lot of the reports. And all of a sudden we had schools full of children that didn't have that anymore. And so a decision was made to go ahead and move immediately into bringing older kids into our care. We certainly weren't prepared for it per se. I think it was somewhat abrupt for us. Taking care of older children definitely involved a transition for all of us. The developmental level is completely different. We're really fantastic at taking care of 0 to 6-year-olds, but every kid aged out when they, on their 7th birthday. And so we really rolled with it initially. I think we were caught off guard sometimes, even things like communication. Thankfully, we have a building that was really built to support that. We have a room that's dedicated to older kids, a clubhouse where they got to hang out and was really prepared for that population of kiddos. We have done a lot of more Uno than we have ever played in our history at Vanessa Behan. We make cookies, kids hang out on beanbags in the clubhouse. There's a cool factor with older kids that we haven't navigated before with our younger kids that are really give themselves permission to speak freely about what they think and what they want. It's actually opened up a lot of conversations that we've been able to have with them. Everything from dealing with a bully at school to coming alongside them with schoolwork, where they get to a place where they're comfortable enough to admit that they struggle in a particular area or with a particular subject. But they've really been great sports too, of just rolling with an environment that's very different from school. They certainly had the consistency of a school setting and a school schedule, and one of the things that changed with the pandemic is that consistency was removed. They did an amazing job of rolling with that and embracing us as well. I was out in our gross motor area one evening. It's our big area where kids can be active inside, and there was an 11-year-old girl out doing cartwheels. And I explained to her that one of my goals this year, randomly, is to do a cartwheel. I've never done a cartwheel. She took me on as her star pupil and walked me through every step of the cartwheel, demonstrating it at each step, got done, and turned to me and said, "Okay, now you try." I knew that my response to this 10-year-old girl's invitation and encouragement is something that had the potential to stay with her and impact her ability and her willingness to try new things. I did the world's worst cartwheel. She looked at me and said, "You did such a good job. That was so good." I was so struck in that moment that she not only was willing to teach me, but she believed in the possible. I've spent 20 years with Vanessa Behan believing in the possible for our kids, and that day, an 11-year-old girl teaching me to do a cartwheel returned the favor. One of the things I often compare working with children from abuse and neglect with is, that it feels like taking on a mountain with a spoon sometimes. It can feel lonely and overwhelming. We were all living fairly isolated lives. That mountain just seemed to grow bigger. But when we put our need out to the community, the things that we needed to care for older kids, at a time when everyone's lives were upturned, people turned out and people showed up and people provided what we needed. The response by the community in the middle of all of that, over all of these months, has been such an encouragement, because I have had opportunity after opportunity to be reminded just how many people are out there holding spoons, and I couldn't be more grateful.